Good evening, and you're very welcome to the Town Ed podcast. It's a result in Richmond for Dundalk FC. Absolutely delighted. I don't think any of us call that on the podcast on Monday, unsurprisingly. Joining us for the start tonight, we have Gali and Pingu. Gentlemen, how are we?
Great.
Good.
I didn't get to give me a prediction. I said...
if you say 2-0 Dundalk now, it doesn't count.
I had 2-0 Dundalk. I had no G as well in that game, so...
A clean sweep of everything.
Absolute chance.
Lads, thoughts on the game tonight. I presume, Pingu, when we see you in the limo, we assume that you were listening to it on the radio on the way in. So
yeah, I got to watch the first half, and then I was driving then for the second half. But yeah, look, it from what I saw and what I heard, I don't want to talk too much about the performance. Look, I think the players worked hard, and I think they were hurting obviously after the other day. But look, it's a results game. Brilliant result. I think it's a great result. I think there was a little bit of redemption for a couple of players. Still nothing like the Dundalk we know. I think the Pats were quite wasteful in the final third. But look, I don't want to be too negative after Monday night. It's
just as that matches, this could be a positive podcast. You start off on negative. I think it's ingrained on us for this season.
Look, getting a clean sheet. We were saying just before we come on, that's our second clean sheet of the season. 2-0 win. Look, it's a great result. That's really all you can say, you know.
Yeah.
And well done to Mike Bassett on picking the team as well. We went 4-4-2, so.
Gali.
Yeah, just when Pingo mentions the 4-4-2, I think, well, I kind of said it before the game, it's a great result, but what was the big thing for me was that the lads have now kind of gone all options. So anything kind of we were saying and anybody was crying out for. So last week they had an unchanged lineup out against Bows, didn't work. But then tonight we go 4-4-2 for the first time in a long time. I think McMillan and Hoban playing together it's not unusual, you know. We've seen it before, but I didn't really know if it was. I don't know if they just said, look, we're just going to go for this. We're going to all hands on deck, but it worked. I mean, look at, and like Alan Matthew said, it is a positive podcast. We weren't great, you know. I just thought we dug in. I thought we got the job done. We got what's needed. Like, you can talk about possession and all that jazz. I know Ger O'Brien and watch League of Ireland. He's actually very good. I was impressed. I was expecting to be very biased, but what he's saying is right. You know, Pats have had a lot of the ball, but balls, you know, having possession won't get you points, won't score goals. You got to put the ball in the back of the net. And Davy Mack done exactly what's asked of him. It's what we've been missing.
Difference to our team, though, doesn't he?
Oh, massive! Like, I think we underrate him sometimes. I think on his day, on his day, I would actually play him ahead of Patrick Hoban simply because he gives you just that little bit extra. I think he's just a little bit clever in the box. But I mean, the two of them today, Pat Hoban, like in the first half, Pat Hoban was excellent. Oh, unbelievable! Like, for someone who's been out for a couple of weeks, Hoban came in like he's been playing. You know, he's obviously been looking after himself off the field, fitness wise. Yeah. Look, look. People I've seen a couple of comments. Oh, you know, we kind of got away with it. Yeah, we get away with it. But I mean, that, you know, teams, if you want to get points, you're going to have to get away with it at some stage. Like, you're right. Your luck. We've said it for weeks. But this Dundalk team have to get a bit of luck. They're just, you know, at the minute, we don't play a good enough game to actually go out and dominate teams at the minute. And tonight's just proof of that. And I thought, look at a 2-0 clean sheet, like second clean sheet of the season. Yeah, delighted. Yeah, you have to be delighted. You can't be anything but delighted after that result. Absolutely.
Yeah. Steph, welcome.
Sorry, man.
You're all right.
We had some technical difficulties there, but we got through them.
And your 5 kids. I know one of them's bound to play up somewhere here, so you're grand.
No,
your reaction to the game tonight. Did you get to see it tonight?
Yeah. Look, I think playing against some of the teams that dominate possession more than we do suits us down to the ground. We can counteract them. Like everyone showed up tonight. I don't think anybody had a bad game really. They all put in a shift. Even Val coming in at left full after having a tough game. What game was it? It was after the Longford game. I can't remember. I thought he was thrown in sort of at the deep end. But tonight he stood up. I don't know if he had a shaky start or not, but I thought he was excellent.
Yeah, I think first half he looked like he was under a bit of pressure, but
yeah,
he got into the game a lot more, and especially when you've got somebody like John Mountney bombing on your wing against you,
he seemed
experienced as well. I think he showed a lot of experience to settle into the game and to shackle him back.
Yeah, I think he grew more into it. Like, what, for a 19-year-old kid to play his third or fourth game, possibly. Like, I thought it was excellent. Boiler, who struggled in recent weeks, I know everyone's saying he's still injured and stuff like that, but he was quality again. And look, if you have 2 or 3 at the back playing very well, you're gonna shut them out. Like, I know they were unlucky. Like, Rovers seemed to be blunt in attack a bit. I think we mentioned at the start of the season that if Coughlin didn't really score goals, they might struggle to sort of picking up the pieces from midfield. So far, like with Benson and Forrester chipping in with some goals, but look, it's positive. Like I think playing against some of the teams that might dominate the ball more than we do actually suits us down to the ground, especially with the attackers have space. Then instead of them sitting in, when our attackers get space, like McElhenney, makes a massive difference. If we get crowded out, we struggle a little bit, struggle to break teams down. But look, if
you're going Fats tonight for your man of the match, I'm going to let you know now. He's an uphill struggle to win it against Andy Boyle, who I think had a real solid match tonight.
Yeah, look, I nearly pulled it back the last time, so I'm going to give a rallying call. No, I'm not this time. Look, I think it's a toss-up between Boyle and Val, like, just for the fact that, I think, look, we're getting into this a bit early. Like, the show's wrapping up early tonight, so here's the man of the match.
It's the break in the season. We're all wrapping up this early now. Look.
Yeah. Darren Meenan's already on, and he sent about 27 comments slagging me off, so I'm gonna batter him when I see him during the week.
He was worried because he thought you were kicked out of the sitting room, but it's all right.
I am. I'm in the kitchen. We're all right. We'll find somewhere if we have to go down to the shed.
Yeah, lads, this is going to be an absolute runaway. Look, just to remind everybody, we do have our Man of the Match competition in conjunction with Tony's Pizzeria, and we have a free 15-inch pizza. If you comment in now with your Man of the Match award, we will also pick ours. And if the winner's not Fats tonight, which is a very good chance, we will pick the winner in conjunction with ours, and I see you will be a winner of a 15-inch pizza. It's Friday night, which means we can give away a free pizza. We no mugs tonight.
Go on, Tony's Pizzeria.
I think, in the interest of keeping the show on the road, we will bring in our first guest. It's very fitting that BB keeps his first clean sheet ever for our club, just as we're about to bring in an absolute legend between the sticks for Dundalk Football Club. A warm welcome to the podcast to Alan O'Neill. How are you?
I'm doing really well, lads. Thank you very much for the intro.
We're delighted you the word, obviously, with a BB before coming in, because it clearly paid off.
Yeah, it was nice to get a clean sheet. Only, as I saw, Dundalk's second clean sheet of the season. But it was a few hairy moments, but yeah, it was nice to get the clean sheet.
I suppose, much like ourselves, Alan, we're looking at it far on at Dundalk Football Club this year. I mean, what have you made of the season so far?
It's been very disappointing, I have to say. I mean, tonight's performance I thought was really good. I thought I saw the old guard being mentioned, and like when you have the likes of Chris Shields, Andy Boyle, Patrick Hooban, David McMillan in the side, there's quality in that team. There's 6-7 players that you would have on any team. The new lads coming in, any new lads coming in are going to take time to settle. But like, you only have to look at the performances in the last week. You beat Rovers, you beat Pats, and you get absolutely hammered by Bows on Monday night, and you think, what's happening? It's so, I think, what's happening off the pitch can also impact on what's happening on the pitch as well. There's so much uncertainty about the club at the moment. I think that does feed down into the players. But there's no doubt the quality in that side. There's good League of Ireland lads who have won. They're winners. They know how to win. You could see it tonight. I think Patrick Hooban coming back into the side, he added that extra bit of class up front. David McMillan will always score goals. He's a poacher supreme. But you had Patrick's class in both goals. He fed in, like he was instrumental in both goals, the lead up to both goals. Yeah, I mean, hopefully they can build on the two performances and forget about the Bows performance. But it's a long season. It's a long season still to go. I saw a stat there coming up. 11 of the 17 points have been won against the top 4 teams. And I'm not surprised really, because they can compete against anyone. The quality is there. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah.
I suppose it's the big games or the easy ones to get yourself up for. It's the lesser sort of teams. You're sort of saying you need a bit of consistency and put in the shift.
Then you're looking to your big players as well. The lads know, like you're talking about your senior players as well. They know what it takes to win leagues. It's never you don't win leagues against the top teams.
Yeah.
If you hold your own against the top teams and you beat the lesser teams, that's how you win leagues. If you look at it down through the years, you got to hold your own against the top 3, top 4. But then you have to be consistent and ruthless against the teams that are not as good as you. And that's you're not wrong. That's where they've fallen down so far this season. The managerial situation at the start of the season hasn't helped. But I think with Jim Magilton there, it seems to have settled down a bit over the last couple of weeks. If you ignore the Bows result, there is a sort of a consistency about it. But it's a long season. I think if you're going to bring a manager in, or if you're going to say Jim Magilton is the manager for the rest of the season, the decision needs to be made quickly so players know exactly where they stand. And if it's Jim Magilton, let's get on with it. But if you're bringing someone else in, I mean, I'm reading about Jim McGuinness and all the rest, and these names being bandied about. David Healy was being bandied about. If someone is coming in, bring them in. But get rid of the uncertainty. Jim Magilton is the manager for the rest of the season. Fine, let's get on with it. People know where they stand then.
We had a lot of guests on here, Alan, and a lot of them have often commented that this uncertainty around the managerial position can lead to inconsistency with the players because they're not being held accountable in any way. I mean, look, we think, would I be right in saying it was Turlock O'Connor brought you to Dundalk? I mean, this man was an absolute legend. Yeah, like an absolute legend. With our club, and you know what it's like playing. I'm sure there's plenty of games where you got up just to play for a manager like that. Is that part of what we're missing this year?
I mean, as I say, it's the uncertainty, but players do start with themselves. Like you're responsible for your own performance. So it does start with the players. But with all the uncertainty, that feeds into uncertainty with players as well. It does. There's no doubt about it. So it's not helping the situation. And that's why I'm saying is, if Jim Magilton is to be the manager for the rest of the season, make that decision. Then it removes the uncertainty. You know who the manager is. Yeah. The players know who it is for the rest of the season. When you think of the situation at the start of the season, you had the manager, Giovanni. He was supposedly not the manager. Shane Keegan was supposedly the manager. And you're getting mixed messages. And then you're seeing instructions coming down from the stand. It's not good from a player's point of view. It does feed into that uncertainty. There's no question about it. So as I say, if Jim Magilton is to be the manager for the rest of the season, make that statement, make that announcement, make it happen.
I suppose it's a ready-made excuse for the players. If things aren't going well, they can just throw that up. Look, we don't have a manager. We've nobody showing the way. So look, it needs to get sorted, and hopefully it's done over the break now. To have time to sort it.
There's 2 weeks now coming up. You're right. You're 100% right. And players can hide behind it. They can hide, but make the decision. It's important that it happens in the next 2 weeks because there's still a lot of football to be played. There's a hell of a lot of football still to be played by the end of the season. And there's points being dropped. I'm not saying I think Dundalk are too far behind now at this stage to win it. But there's a lot of inconsistency. Like Sligo have come, Rovers, we all thought were going to run away. I thought Rovers were going to run away with it. 3 weeks ago, I thought they were going to run away. Then all of a sudden, now they're not even top of the table. So
it's good for the league, though, isn't it?
Still on to play for. What?
It's good for the league, though, that Rovers aren't running away with it.
Absolutely. I mean, Bucko has done a great job at Sligo. There's no two ways about it. He's done a great job, and they're pushing. And you're right. It's good that no one team, and it's a new teams coming through. Like, it's great to see Sligo. I mean, over the last 10, 12 years, you had the Cork Dundalk axis. They were shared in the league. Dundalk could win it, Cork could win it. Then it went Dundalk and Rovers. But it's nice to see other teams coming through as well. And particularly when it's not a Dublin team as well, it's out in the country. The Dublin teams haven't been doing it, let's be honest, until Rovers in the last 2 seasons. It's been Cork, Dundalk, and then you're going out west with Sligo. I think it's great for the league to have the more teams involved, the better.
Yeah, I think having your cell phone, the burning question, I'm sure for everyone watching in and listening back, will be your view on the goalkeeping situation this year. There's always a stat, Alan, when you came in with Dundalk, it was the worst position to have was your understudy because you never got on. Because you were just constantly. Yes.
I did have a run of games, all right.
when you think about nearly half these games, each keeper's got a shot at both of them. It's a very strange scenario, isn't it?
It is. I mean, with the new lad coming in, the BB coming in, I mean, and I do have a certain, I understand the position of a new goalkeeper coming into Dundalk. You're following in the footsteps of Gary Rogers, an absolute legend of the game over the last decade. I was in a similar position when I went to Dundalk, and I have to say the first couple of games, I wasn't at my best. I was following on Richie, an absolute legend in Dundalk. And it's unsettling. You've got to go up there and you've got to make a name. And this lad, BB, has come over from Italy. Doesn't know probably anything about the League of Ireland. So it does take a while to settle in. So I do have certain sympathies for him, although it worries me. Like even tonight's performance, Andy Boyle, Chris Shields at the back were immense. But every time the ball went in the air into the box, your heart was in your mouth a bit, wasn't it? He came and took one cross brilliantly, but the rest there was a bit of flapping, and you were wondering, you got away with it. Slightly concerned, and then you had Peter Cherry got in for a couple of games as well, and it's never a great position when you don't know who number one. I do feel someone has to challenge. You can't have someone that no matter what you do, you're number one. But if you look at the situation of Manchester United as well, they don't know who the number one goalkeeper is. Is it De Gea? Is it Henderson? And it's unsettling for both of them then. They get in, they make a mistake, and they're, am I gone? So it is unsettling. BB now has been given a run of games for the last couple of games. Hasn't been the most convincing, and I think that's unsettling for the back four. Luckily, tonight, you had the likes of Chris, you had Andy Boyle, who done really well. The left back and the whole back four done well tonight, I thought. But it's worrying. It's worrying that, how long will he take to settle in? He still he still seems very unsure of himself.
You see, he comes across as very nervous, especially with the crosses. Like I'm not a goalkeeper myself, but he just.
Oh well, you saw. Yeah, he's not confident. I was watching him actually. I was watching before corner kicks were taken, and he was more interested. He was concentrating more on forwards, pushing forwards away from him rather than the ball. Your main focus for a corner kick, free kick has to be the ball. You have to be aware of what's around you, certainly. So I think he's unsure of himself. There's no question about that. He is unsure, and that passes on to the back forward as well. But as I said, the two lads, Andy Boyle and Chris Shields, were immense in the centre of the Dundalk defence tonight. But it's worrying.
Yeah, I think
it was interesting. Sorry, Steph, go ahead.
No, I was just going to mention that Jim Magilton sort of said during the week that the way are sort of going to be looking for a keeper during the window in July. So have you looked around the league yourself? Do you think there's any prospects there? that could step in.
Who's gonna? Yeah, I mean, a couple of weeks ago, I would have said Brian Murphy when he was given the cold shoulder down in Waterford. Get him up immediately, no question about it. You're guaranteed he's a quality goalkeeper. There are good goalkeepers in the league. There's no question. There are, but whether they'd be released, I mean, McGinty at Sligo, excellent. The Pats lad tonight is the standard is quite good, but you're not just going to be able to go out to a League of Ireland club and say we want your goalkeeper. That's not going to happen. They're going to be tied down for the season, so you're still probably going to be relying on known somewhere in another country. I don't know. It's maybe if you're looking at another goalkeeper, but you can't just sort of say you're going to look at another League of Ireland goalkeeper because they're going to be tied down for the season. No one is going to be tied down for 6 months or half a season.
And we don't want to get another number 2 keeper because I think that's what Jerry was originally brought in for. It wasn't to be back.
Yeah, I think so. Well, there is, of course, the option of with the season like up north, maybe just goalkeepers up north. I don't know, but I think they need an out-and-out definite number 1.
Yeah,
you know, it's goalkeeper. As I can vouch for, goalkeeping is a very important position. You need your goalkeeper at the top of his game. But if you look at all any leagues, cups that are won, you have to have a good goalkeeper. You won't win one with a dodgy one. Now, and the lad, as I said, he's only new to the country. He's only settling in, but it's worrying.
Yeah. And, you know, we're talking about the goalkeeping position just there now, but to be fair, through injuries and maybe just poor form or whatever, there's been a lot of changes in this Dundalk team this year. And I'm just thinking back to, you know, we had Martin Lawler on here a few weeks ago, and he always said that the strength in a lot of his teams was you could pick the back 4 or 5 straight away, never changed. Everybody knew their roles, everyone knew their positions. That got something to do with it here as well, Alan. We're just chopping and changing too much.
Absolutely, it's unsettling because when you're playing with a settled back 4, everyone knows everyone else's game, you know. And as Martin said, we had a very settled back 4 at our time in the club, so that's unsettling for everyone. It's unsettling for the goalkeeper. But tonight, I thought the 2 experienced lads definitely took command. Andy Boyle and Chris Shields, they definitely took command. No question about it. And it is unsettling, particularly for new lads coming in as well. You had the left back and the right back, 2 new lads. It's unsettling. So you do need to get a settled back 4. And then results aren't going. When results aren't going your way, that's a further unsettling fact as well. You know, but hopefully they can build on the two results from the last 2 Fridays and forget the Monday.
Yeah,
that's the big one.
Martin Lawler said he still has a headache from you shouting at him.
We did actually.
I'm looking at goalkeepers nowadays. They don't shout. I mean, I used to come off at the end of a match. Someone would say to you, "You didn't get much to do today," and I'd be absolutely hoarse from talking and shouting, and I mean, from concentrating. And I'd have a headache, and I got nothing to do. And I do think it's a part of goalkeeping that isn't as prominent as it should be, because you're still the main organizer. You should be the eyes for your back 4, not just your back 4, your whole defence, your wide players as well. So I mean, I do feel that goalkeepers aren't commanding enough. They should be assertive. I look at the Hay again, another prime example during the week. Never opens his mouth. Opens his mouth, you know, and I think it's important that you do, because you're contributing to everyone else's game. I mean, I remember meeting a lad when I was finished. The last club I was with, I played out the season with Sligo Rovers, and Mark Hutchinson was a left back. And first time I met him a couple of years later, and the first thing he says to me, "Watch your back," because I was constantly at him. Watch your back, cover, and you know that's the way it was. That's the first thing he said to me. Watch your back, cover. It's a part of the game that I think it's an important part of a goalkeeper's game, because not alone does it help others, it helps your concentration as well.
I suppose you're goalkeeping's always that position, you know, that you do have the best view on the pitch because everyone's playing in front of you. You can literally see everything. You shouldn't be turning your back to see anybody. But
No, absolutely.
and therefore you can see play happening much quicker than anywhere else, or you can see a gap coming before most people can.
Yeah, that's on. You're the eyes and ears of the whole team at times, and you have to. But as I say, it's your concentration. I used to come alive when it was a corner kick for us, because you'd be organising at the back. You have to organise. That's your game. It's not about it's a corner for us. But whoever said the two lads at the back, are they just hands on hips watching what's going to happen? Not if I was playing behind them. They weren't. No way. Constantly in their ear. I mean, and it was nearly a compliment if they turned around and told you to shut up. That was a compliment.
You're looking for them to do that, like.
Yeah, it means they're listening.
Yeah, I know. That's what Martin Lawler actually said when Everton was going down the left or something. He said that's when you'd be, barking orders at them.
Yeah.
Shuffle left, watch the striker in behind, and and
a ball coming into a ball coming in, you were always assuming, as a goalkeeper, you assume the worst. So that's why you're constantly, if we lose the ball, you be ready. So if the two centre halves are going, or one of the centre halves going up for a ball, as a goalkeeper, you're thinking he's going to miss it.
Yeah.
You're one of your own side. You can never assume that the good things. You've got to always think negatively. That the worst thing. What's the worst that can happen if the centre half going up to head a ball? He'll miss it. So you've got to be on your toes the whole time, ready for what's going to happen.
Sort of proactive instead of reactive, I suppose.
Exactly. That's the whole thing. It's proactive, and it's the way it's a thought process. When I'm watching games, I'm looking, where's the goalkeeper? Ball over the top on the telly, and you're saying, where is he? He should be out there. He should be concentrating. He should be playing the game, thinking about it. Sometimes they're just standing back on their line or whatever. But look, it doesn't change. I still think that way watching games.
Can you imagine you yelling at your TV now?
Where are you? But
I love it though. It must be the most goalkeeping conversation ever. That typical goalkeeper. We've a corner and you're yelling more than probably most people on the pitch, or we're going forward and you're the one that's still yelling the most. Defenders must have absolutely loved you.
Oh, they did. But I genuinely used to come off of after a match hoarse. I'd go into work on Monday and I couldn't talk really from all the shouting. But look, that was something I liked. I was quite proud of that.
Yeah, definitely.
I suppose something that the Dundalk teams, Alan, that you played with shares some similarities to Dundalk teams of late is a double winning team. Yeah. And double winning teams aren't easy. It's a very hard feat to come up against. I mean, when you name off some of the players from that 87-88 team that you were with, I mean, they are household box office names to play. It must have been an absolute dream to be playing in that team.
Oh, absolutely. There were some incredible players in the team. We mentioned Martin. What a defender. Martin, Gino Lawless. And these were all players that Turlock, Martin was there all right. Turlock brought along himself, Gino, Terry Eviston, one of the best forwards ever to play in the league. And Turley signed him. I don't know how much, he got him for next to nothing. Gino was the same, was finished at Bowes. You had Martin Murray in the middle of the park. What a player. I mean, he just oozed class. Martin used to glide by players. He had no pace whatsoever, but he just glided by them. Larry Wise in the middle of the park, and then you had Desi Gorman and the great late Barry Keogh. I mean, what a side we had. There's some great players. But players, I always say, there was players there that you want in the trenches with you. When you were up in a battle and when things weren't going for you. These were players who dig something out of nothing for you. Great lads and great memories. I mean, I look back so fondly on them years between the 87-88 team and then the 91 team.
Yeah,
great lads, great players to play with, and so much ability. It was great.
Did both teams have a lot of similar characteristics, do you think, or was it just different types of characters in both, and both of them ended up with success, obviously?
I'd say probably football-wise, the 88 team, with the likes of Martin Murray and Larry Wise, great players on the ball. The 91 team was I mean, the defence that year was like, I think we conceded 16 goals in 33 games, and 5 was in the first game. So it was phenomenal. But the fact that we conceded 5 in the first game and then conceded 11 in 32, it just shows you someone that we got together after that first game, obviously. But I mean, so many great players and great League of Ireland players. Differences. Yeah, Peter Hanrahan in the second, we lost Desi, but they were like for like nearly as well. Gino moved from the back four, he moved into midfield. So you hadn't got that. We weren't, although we were still an excellent midfield, but you didn't have the sort of the silken skills of Martin Murray and Larry Wise. But by God, were they effective. You had the likes of Gino there and Tom McNulty in the middle of the park. I'd have both midfields any day of the week. Great.
I think Tom McNulty nearly chipped in about 10 goals that year, didn't he?
He did, and he chipped in with the most important one on the last day of the season. You know, that was the most important. But yeah, he had that ability to arrive late, and great legs on him, great engine. Questionable at his tackling. Some of it was really good.
Questionable.
Would like to have been on the other end.
On the ends of some of those, Alan.
I think they were all GBH. I don't think they were tackles.
Yeah, great player. But no, it was great. It was great to be involved. It really was a great time. And I mean, I think fondly back on that last day down in Cork. What an occasion that was.
I was just going to ask you about it
down there.
Yeah. I like, was it just one of those things that, you know, there was so much riding on it to be just a one goal, you know, like if you were writing a story about it, it had all the characteristics right there, didn't it?
Absolutely. It had everything. Cork led the league the whole season until the last match, which also meant reverse. I always tell this story that when we were there, at the start of the season, you'd organise your bonuses, your win bonuses, and your top win bonus was when you were on top of the table. We didn't get that till the last match of the season. The last match of the season. The directors were thrilled with us. But yeah, you had the whole thing in Cork where, I mean, I saw a rerun of the game there only recently, the highlights. And the late Noel O'Mahony was interviewed like after the game, and he started saying, well, the whole country wanted us to win because they wanted Cork to win, and it probably wasn't right that Dundalk won. That didn't matter to us, you know. Our lads were. We knew going down there we had every chance. And like when you look at the lads I mentioned, have them in your side, you knew you were in with a great chance. They were up. I mean, it was a full house down in Turner's Cross, 11,000. The pressure was really on them. Well, no, I'm not. I wouldn't say the pressure was really on. The pressure was on both teams because you want to win a league, so you can't say the pressure was on them. I think there was more pressure on them because they nearly expected to win that day. And they were a great side. But what an occasion. I mean, I still remember down the far end of Turner's Cross, full of black and white. Oh, there must have been 4,000 or 5,000 Dundalk supporters there that day. What an atmosphere. It was just brilliant. And the trip home when I saw the highlights, I actually got goosebumps on the back of my neck just watching them, you know, because it brings you back to the time. You just relive it all. It was just fabulous.
Class.
And the trip back home was memorable too, yeah?
Absolutely. I don't remember much of it. But it was great. Yeah, no, I mean, when we talk about the trip homes, the one after the Cork wasn't as good as the one after we won the double. Because when we went back after the double up to Dundalk, that night it was, I mean, Hill Street was just a sea of black and white and sea of people, and then the bus going through the town. Oh no, there was nothing ever like that. I would never witnessed anything, never experienced anything like that. Was just off the scale. That was amazing. Will live with me. I take it to the box.
We were talking over the past few weeks about, you know, and I know COVID hasn't helped, but just that connection between the club and the community here in Dundalk. I mean, I suppose you felt it so much for the length of time you were here at the club. You know how much that the club means to this town.
Oh, absolutely. And that's a huge thing. And that was a privilege to play for Dundalk. That was such a privilege because you were playing for a whole town. I mean, I played probably half my career, 50-50 between Rovers and Dundalk. And the difference, playing for Rovers, there was a community. Don't get me wrong. There was some really loyal, the exact same supporters at Rovers as you'd have at Dundalk, who eat, drink, and sleep. As one of them, I always remember one of the lads, Mick Cairns from Rovers, saying, "If you cut me, there'd be green blood coming out of my veins." And that's, it's the same theory. But when you played for Dundalk, everyone was interested. The whole town. You were playing for the whole town, even those people who wouldn't be interested in soccer or interested in football. You were playing for them as well, because when you won, you knew it impacted on them as well. Yeah. Whereas you wouldn't have the same impact on a city team. I mentioned Sligo. Sligo would be another club like that, where soccer is the number one game in the town.
Yeah,
I know GAA is big in Dundalk, but soccer is still the big thing in Dundalk. But you can feel that. You always got that feeling. So when you won it for the whole town. It was brilliant.
Just the community sense and everyone together, and it makes it that much better if you win.
Absolutely, because as I say, you're winning it for everyone, and everyone shares in it. If you win in a Dublin team, you have certainly your smaller group, and they're just, as I say, they're just as passionate as the Dundalk people. But it's not the whole town; it's everyone. That's what I loved about it. That thinking back on the Hill Street and the reception we got. I mean, most of the people who were there for the reception wouldn't be in Oriel Park. They wouldn't be in Oriel Park every week. But when you won it, it meant something to them. It meant something. It was putting Dundalk on the map. Not just Dundalk Football Club. Dundalk, the whole town was on the map. And that was huge. And you got that feeling. And I always got that feeling. I always felt very privileged.
Alan, speaking of maps, I remember chatting to you off air. We were talking about how there used to be, representation from the league in Olympic qualifiers and things like that. And I mean, you got to play across the globe. Tell us a wee bit about the story. Tell us the places that you've got to play, because we were saying that it's something that's badly missed.
Oh, absolutely. I maintain, I'm not sure I would be able to play currently now, because it's gone full time. It is a full-time league. Lads don't have jobs. I played when you had a job and you had your part-time football. But you mentioned, football has been so good to me. I've been so lucky. My very first trip as an 18-year-old at Rovers was to Japan for 10 days. I've been to Brazil. I've been to Kuala Lumpur, Singapore, America, all over Europe on top of that. New Zealand. What a trip that was with the League of Ireland. Back in 1982, 3 weeks in New Zealand, just phenomenal stuff. And and you built up. The camaraderie. That trip to New Zealand, Jim McLaughlin was the manager. You had all the Dundalk lads: Tommy Mack, Paddy Dunning, Pop Flanagan, the late Sean Bourne. They were, but you were all one. It was just brilliant. And when you went on the trips, that was our taste of full-time football. That was when you trained every day and you played your matches, and it was just brilliant. And you mentioned the Olympics. That was probably the pinnacle, because it was a League of Ireland selection, and we were playing against full-time professionals. I think we were in a group with Sweden, France, Hungary, ourselves, and Spain. So what a group to be in! I think we finished third in the group. We beat France, who were the Olympic holders, at home. We had a fabulous 3-0 victory against them and drew it 2-2 away. So we had some great performance. We drew twice with Spain. Now, they wouldn't be the top La Liga players, obviously. But they were younger players with the top teams. What an experience. And it was around the late 80s. So we were playing with, there would be a spring, there was 3 or 4 from Dundalk, the likes of Martin, myself, Gino, Terry, and then you were with the Rovers lads: Pat Bourne, Mick Neville, Mick Bourne, Noel Larkin. What a team! What an experience to play at that level. It was, because it was the next level up, and you were playing international football. It was just brilliant. I mean, when I look back on my career, and the first thing I think of how lucky I was to have experienced, to win, to play for the clubs I did, to play for Dundalk, to play for Rovers, to be successful, and then to see the world. How lucky was I? You just have to be grateful.
Yeah.
I was just going to say, so you played Sweden out there. Is that where the Swedish jersey came from?
That's where the jersey, and I still have the jersey, by the way. I still have it. I must.
Somebody texted in already there. All right.
Yeah, but that's where the jersey came from. and because I was quite superstitious, and we got beaten 1-0 in the 93rd minute over in Sweden, but I had a particularly good game. So if I had a good game, I'd say, well, yeah, I like that jersey, and the jersey was an Adidas jersey, which all the top European goalkeepers were wearing. So I said, I'll have a piece of this. So this was the double team. So I can't remember who sponsored the gear. I can't remember who sponsored the gear at the time, but they weren't too happy because I was wearing this Adidas jersey every week.
Probably the O'Neill's one, was it?
It wasn't O'Neill's. No, I can't remember. So we're going all the way in the cup as well. We're into the semi-final, and I'm still wearing the Adidas jersey. And Harp weren't happy either because there was no logo on the jersey. So we're coming up to the cup final, and Turlock comes up to me and he says, "Can I have a word?" Yeah, no problem, Turlock. You know that jersey? I said, "Turlock, I'm wearing it. I don't care." No, he said, "You can wear it. You can wear it. But would you let them put the Harp sign on it?" So I thought about it. I said, "Okay, yeah, put the Harp sign on it." So the Harp sign is still on it now. So, but there was a bit of a conciliatory gesture on my part, so I put Harp on it. So so we still had a clean sheet. So it was the cloth that mattered, not the extra logo.
Yeah,
that was the
look. People commented in there. I think it was Eros was the.
Yeah, it was Eros. It was Eros. That's right. They were sponsored, and in fairness, they were very good about it. They got my lucky charm. They got the way I was thinking, but it came to a head particularly when the cup final was televised live on the telly. So they wanted their piece, and
of course.
Eros gave in to me, and Harp got their way then with the jersey.
And Harp got their way,
and they got their way. So we all came out happy, and we had a double. What more could you ask for?
What more could you ask?
So there was plenty of Harp drank after.
Oh, there certainly was. That was a night and a half. That sure was. That was a great night. Oh, what memories! What memories! They were great.
Alan, look, just thanks so much for your time here tonight. I suppose just to finish up, where does this Dundalk team go this year? I mean, is there an outside chance of Europe? Do you think we need that fourth spot to be available for Europe to stand any chance? I suppose.
I think so. But I mean, performances like tonight, and depends on what other teams are doing. If other teams are taking points off each other, anything can happen. I can't say. I think Dundalk are too far behind to win the league, but so it's still all to play for, and then you still have the cup to play for as well. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of football still to be played, and when you look at tonight's performance, the nucleus of a team is there. There's no question. There's a lot of talent, a lot of class in that team. Mm. It can happen. As I said earlier, if the uncertainty can be removed and say, look, this is what we're doing. So as you say, there's no excuses. No one can have any excuses. Let's just focus in what has to be done. I think it's a lot of play for Europe. Is not out of the question. Definitely not, in my opinion.
Do you think you could give us a lend of the jersey, the Swedish jersey?
I'll send it up to you.
And get it up. We might just get somebody to replicate it, maybe, and just get you to bless it and throw it on.
Just shows the quality of it. It's still going strong. What is it, 30 years on? 30 odd years on.
It's a classic.
Yeah, classic.
I can't see Umbro definitely won't let us do that though.
No, I don't think so. It was a one-off.
Yeah. Alan, thank you so much for joining us tonight. We really do appreciate it. And you're welcome back throughout the season if there's ever a chance that you're free again. We'd love to have you back.
Absolutely. I would love it. I really enjoyed it. Really, and I really enjoyed reliving the old days as well. I mean, it's always great to think of the great times. As I say, I was so fortunate to have played when I did up in Dundalk. Great times, and loved every bit of it, every minute of it. Great memories, and not just the players, supporters as well. Because as we said earlier, you were playing for them, but they let you know you were playing for them. Because if you weren't playing well, you knew. Great. So I remember them all.
Perfect. Alan, thank you so much. As I say, you're more than welcome back on again, especially if there's a clean sheet every time you're on.
Absolutely, yeah. If you're struggling for a clean sheet, you know where I am.
We'll give you a shout.
Cheers, Alan.
Thank you. Could have done with him for the start of the season.
In goal.
Yeah. And the way
podcast, I'll take anything.
it's similar to Martin Lawler. The way, that privilege of playing, it's a privilege to play for the club, and that's not that I'm saying the current squad don't think like that, but it doesn't kind of show sometimes. This is you're playing for the town. I know the result, tonight's result aside, but that kind of mentality really needs to get into some bottles and like, drink it down in the dressing room, because that's what we're missing at the minute, I think. And yeah, it's great to hear. Like I didn't talk at all. I was engrossed. See, when people like that come on, I just get completely engrossed in what they're saying. But yeah, brilliant! What a legend! He was the first goalkeeper I ever seen playing really well. Unbelievable.
Deadly class. I thought I seen you with the popcorn now.
Could you?
Say it again.
And who came in after him? Well, he gave you the answer for the first one.
Van Boxtel, was it?
The one after, yeah, Eddie Van Boxtel, wasn't it?
Yeah. That ledge, he won't be coming on.
You collect goal.
Oh Jesus! We won't go there, lads. We won't go there.
Yeah, brilliant.
Look, we'll move on. We have our second guest ready to come on. This man sat beside me in the press box for many a year in between Jerry Malone, so you can imagine the stories we had to listen to, because not that we got to say anything. A big welcome to the podcast for Caoimhin Reilly. Caoimhin, how are you?
Not so bad, lads. You can hear me there, okay?
Yeah, perfect.
Perfect.
All good, Pat.
It's just a few things there with Alan O'Neill. I had the privilege of interviewing Alan before a Rovers game a couple of years ago. I think was the night it was 0-0. It was the year they won the double in 2018. I think it was that game, and then obviously Martin Lawler as well. Like they're fascinating guys to listen to, and maybe it's a guy to recommend for you. I remember describing him as Teak Tough James Call as well, because I around this time last year, I would have spoken to a lot of those former players, and like one thing that Andrew said, and I was thinking about it myself, if you could just instill some of that desire and sort of respect for the club and into maybe some of the players that are there at the moment, considering I'm not going to say the state of the league this year, but I actually think it's a much weaker league, and I think it's more a reflection on the standard generally fallen that we're looking at a Pats team tonight that we're being spoken of in terms of a title. I suppose you wouldn't rule them out. They're not that far off the top at the moment, certainly sitting a lot prettier than Dundalk. But I think that's the most damning indictment, that Dundalk have invested so much this, particularly in this year's team, and like that Rovers team is not as good as last year. Like I always thought Jack Byrne, sort of his, the hysteria around him was exactly that. Like he was a good player, but I some of them, he was like a godlike figure in some people's eyes. But like losing him and McAneff out of that team, like they're essentially irreplaceable. I know they've brought in Mandrew and tried to move Ronan Finn back in, but that Rovers team's not as strong. Buckley's obviously done a very good job.
It definitely isn't.
No, and like Liam Buckley has done a very good job at Sligo. He's got a lot of good pros in there. Obviously Gary Buckley got sent off at Oriel Park a couple of weeks ago, but players like him, previous league winners, guys with lots of experience, like they have a goal scorer in Parks that they've been few and far between, sort of clinical goal scorers, and when you're factoring in the Ducks, still probably the two best goal scorers in the league, and look where they are. But maybe tonight is the sign of better things to come. I suppose just on tonight's game, I think one word that I think represents it is workmanlike. And I was looking back to the Sligo game a couple of weeks ago, and one thing that I suppose frustrated me was Junior was playing up front and Mitscogan was on the bench, and like when I think there was the draw in Longford was the game before that. I suppose my outlook on it was that you really should have sort of gone back to basics in a way. And considering now the McMillan or Hoban were available, you go with the big man up front and you play off him. Because that night there was no distinctive sort of pattern of play or how they were going to break down Sligo, even with 10 men. Whereas you look at the team selection for tonight, like you're going back to 4-4-2. Well, not back. There's a long time since the Dundalk played 4-4-2. I remember Stephen Kenny tried it for a while, maybe around 2017, but it was never, I can't remember that. Whether it was Sean Connor or even the last Dundalk manager, well, Ian Foster probably.
Pingu loves 4-4-2. Definitely, he was Foster to do the whole thing.
He was over the team one of the nights at that stage, wasn't he?
Anyhow,
Anyhow, but just I suppose on tonight that workman like, but it was back to basics. You have your two players up front. You had two, I suppose, really. You two players in the middle of the field with a very high work rate, and Stanton and Sloggett probably neither overly creative. That was provided by obviously the flanks, Duffy and particularly McElhenney. I suppose McElhenney possibly struggled at times with Ian Birmingham going the other way, but I suppose Dundalk were resolute defensively. Andy Boyle probably had his best game since he came back to the club. So it was. I don't think Pats are anything necessarily to write home about, and yes, you're probably still surprised that that Dundalk team in the back of Monday night picked up the results, because I'm not sure whether guts are in lush supply in a lot of the players. But listen, your old guard stood up.
Yeah.
I think the fact that, like you said, the old guy. I think, like you said, Boyle was outstanding. Shields, I know he's not generally at the back, but I think even the likes of Stanton in a decent match, and we've waited for him. I think we're still waiting on him really to kind of hit kind of any kind of top form. But when I think we're back to that, when Hoban, McMillan, Fats, Duffy, when they all link up again and it's working right. This obviously we need them all on the field at the one time, so you have to play the 4-4-2. But I think when it all gels well and all looks well, look, we weren't excellent, but yeah, I agree. Like when the old guard's on, it does kind of, it's almost reminiscent. You can kind of bring yourself back to when we had Kenny and even Vinnie Peart, for want of a better word. But it's good to see that they have that option now, so they can play. We have that. Like I said at the start, Jim Magilton and Stevie Mack named the same team as Friday night on Monday, and it didn't work. So now they've gone 4-4-2. So after this, if it didn't work tonight, they're out of options. They've tried everything pretty much. But yeah, look, I think like you say, the old guard there. I don't know what you thought of kind of last Monday night. Is probably more of a. I don't know if you're watching it yourself, but it goes to show that you can on your night you can probably beat anybody. But then you go out on a Monday night like that against Bows, and everything just falls apart. It's just it's mad really.
It's a total lack of consistency. There has been reasonably good performances at times this year, but just so many completely subpar, under par. And it's actually interesting that you mentioned that the team was the same on Monday night as Friday night. Like Dundalk having a constant or a consistent 11 this season, like that's a complete and utter rarity. And you even reflect back, like I didn't understand. I don't understand that culture that it sort of set into the group. Like you reflect back, and I was even talking to somebody about this last night. Like, and listen, everything probably revolves come back to the Kenny era, but you're going back to 2016, and I think it's just a point of reference. You think about the end of that year and the number of games. Like you're playing 3 games a week for months, not weeks, months. That was the schedule that they had to play, and the team it's putting out arguably, you could use 14 players on a night, and you would imagine that 12 of those would be consistent the whole way through. Like, and it was always, it was sort of a theme of the Kenny era that it was the same 11 the whole way through, and I really couldn't understand. I know we're going back a bit to Filippo's time, but last year the chopping and changing, like. Filippo will be remembered for qualifying for, the group stages, but his league record was pathetic. And like, you can't how can you have a team to settle, particularly when you're taking in new players all the time? There was there was no preseason. It was non-existent practically. Like, how can you let a team settle and bond and relationships form, and it just doesn't work if you haven't got some element of consistency in components. Now I know there has been injury issues in that, and things probably beyond the control of those picking the team and looking after it. But at the same time, like, there didn't seem to be any rhyme or reason. There are controllables and uncontrollables, and obviously you can't control injuries, but like in a lot of cases you can control trying to get a spine and build a team. And this was something I said before as well. Like, I don't know what Dundalk's transfer strategy necessarily is. Like, I'm not saying that Rovers are the model to follow. If you reflect on, again, Stephen Kenny's Dundalk, when the big player went at the end of the season, the Towel, the Horgan, the Hoban, like, it was generally going out and buying a player to fit into those the gaps that were left. It wasn't a case of signing players and trying to shoehorn them in. Like when Horgan went, it was a case of getting Duffy, a sort of a tricky winger, less direct possibly, but maybe with a better delivery, arguably. Like when Pat Hoban went, obviously McMillan was at the club, but it was a case of getting in Kieran Kilduff as a different option. Like he's more in that sort of hold up mold than McMillan would have been. Like, there was a point to this strategy. There seemed to be a logic behind the players that were recruited all the time. You think to Rovers at the beginning of this year, mentioned earlier, losing Jack Byrne, losing Aaron McAneff, like Joey O'Brien's not getting any younger. So like they had a style of play 3-5-2. They took Sean Hoare in to play in a back three. He probably fitted that profile. Ronan Finn was playing as a wing back last year. They signed Sean Gannon. He's probably more effective as a right full as opposed to a right wing back. But again, he was signed to play in that position so Finn could move into midfield to try and fill McAneff's the breach he left. And then equally Mandrew going up front. Like, if you look at the signings Dundalk made, and I think a specific example of this was Filippo played 3-5-2 last year a lot. He was playing with two strikers. Like Michael Duffy played up front in quite a few games last year, be it with Pat Hoban or McMillan or whoever. In the close season, they signed four strikers. Well, obviously McMillan and Hoban were remaining at the club. They signed Junior and Mitscogan. So straight away there, you get the impression that, well, if he's playing two up front, four strikers is probably the pool you're looking to draw from, if with the number of games and that. But straight away it was a sort of like a 3-4-3. So you had really only one central striker, and you're four on the books. I know they might not all have been fit at the one time, but you still had four on the books. Like Mitscogan was taken on and Tal on the right wing. Like, he hasn't the physique to be a winger. No, like, he's a pace. He's a sort of a target man. So straight away there, you question, like, in terms of the depth of midfield options. Like, apart from Patrick McElhenney, is there another sort of creative midfield option in the squad? I would doubt it. Right midfield has long been an issue with Dundalk in terms of getting a consistent sort of an option there. I don't believe that's necessarily been addressed. And even exactly. And like, I suppose we'll touch on the players that were let go later, but even the defenders, like, playing a three at the back is a lot different. Like, it's particularly if you're to the right or the left of it, you find yourself in the channels a lot, and the emphasis is probably to carry the ball into midfield. And like, with the greatest respect to Sonny Nadestad, and we haven't seen enough of him, does he necessarily fit that profile of a player? Like Daniel Cleary, again, is he the sort of a player that would be comfortable carrying the ball into midfield? The likes of Brian Gartland, it probably would be. We've seen that before, Andy Boyle. But if you're playing with three centre halves, surely the profile of player you were signing, you would have been better surely retaining Sean Hoare as opposed to signing Sonny Nadestad. I don't know what the views are. There just seems to be no transfer strategy sort of there, and no identity. Like that has gone. And like, that's a trait of so many successful teams is that identity, and you're signing players to suit a structure as opposed to just signing players and trying to work out the structure afterwards.
Yeah, definitely is. I think exactly what you said there. Instead of signing maybe the best players that thought was out there, you need to sign the best player for your system. But then again, you go back to the question: did we know what our system was? We mightn't have. So it looked like we were just trying to sign players off the back of reputations, players coming in for big money when there's probably better options around the league. I think we definitely could have pulled from the league before we looked across, or even held on to the players we had. It was criminal, some of the decisions that was made. But that's opening up the whole thing to who's making the decisions, who's signing the players. I don't know. It just mind boggles at times when you think of what was happening before.
Yeah, absolutely. And like the big question is, what could you do with that? Listen, we're talking after a brilliant win tonight, and you now have a break and everybody goes into it. The garden's not rosy, but it's certainly looking a lot better than it did at 6 o'clock this evening. But you would imagine that there'll be a manager appointed before play resumes. But if you're a manager coming into that setup, we mentioned that you're back to the old guard tonight. That's sort of a damning indictment that your best players are still, are league medalists from 2014 or 2016, and all the money and the outlay that's been spent. And you can't criticize Peak Six in terms of, the investment they've made in the playing staff. But the wage, the wage budget in there at the minute, and what you're getting from certain players, is it? I actually had a chat with somebody last night, and they said, you get a new manager in, you go signing players. There'll be players in England surely available that they're in their off season now. Just keep the players you have, and at the end of the season pay them, but you can't play them. Wilfred Zahibo, with the greatest respect to him, I'd say he's the highest earner in that dressing room.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say he's not up to it, because we haven't seen sort of aptitude from him to see whether he is up to it. There has been fitness issues with a lot of players that have been signed. Jordan Flores and Sean Murray have shown glimpses of what they're capable of. You go back to the game in Oriel Park against Sligo a number of weeks ago. Sean Murray was probably our best player that night. But it's fits and starts. And again, you can't develop any sort of team with these players in it if they're good enough to be in it. If they're injured quite a bit of the time, and then you have to question, why are they picking up the injuries and that? There seems to be a lot of question marks, and it's a big undertaking for whoever goes in there. And regardless, if they go in and the entire process and the entire thing is built on sand, which it seems to be at the moment, that there's an entire lack of accountability. Nobody knows what people's roles are. Jim Magilton just seems to be jack of all trades at the minute. Who's the one signing the players? Because by all accounts, I would be, 99.9% certain that there were 3 different people bringing in players at the beginning of the year. Filippo signed some of them. Jim Magilton definitely signed some of them. And likewise with Bill, probably you see with the strong cohort of Americans that are hanging about the place. That's not conducive to success or building on anything. And if a manager is going to come in and literally be handed players, here, fit them in. There has to be a proper structure in place as the profile of player they're looking to get in. I would go as far as to say some sort of a wage structure as well, because I think if you have players in that club who have 5 league winners medals and hundreds of appearances and have a very close link to the community and are really respected, and suddenly there's guys, prima donnas landing into the dressing room earning 2-3 times what they're on, and at the same time, people that are very close to you are being let go, and their departures haven't necessarily been that amicable. There will be an element of sort of resentment in there, and it just doesn't. I don't think that squad at the minute is going to knit together enough to get Dundalk back into Europe. Like, it's highly unlikely that they're going to be able to put together a run to get into Europe, which is obviously integral, possibly to the club's short-term future, or even long-term future. The cup could be your only option in that sense, and that'll mean, possibly having to throw a couple of 100,000 of players now in the next month or so. And even then, like, it is a panic buying. I don't want to be a prophet of doom, but I just struggle to see how this big win tonight, like, it was a big win last Friday night, and then it was a total disaster after it. Like, would it be good now if you were moving into another week's training on the back of tonight's performance? You have a sort of a blueprint of a team, a sort of formation, a shape, that work ethic. If you're straight into a game next Friday night instead of that 2 weeks, possibly that could be a negative.
I'm just glad we're not playing Monday night. But Caoimhin, just looking at even the Richie Towell situation, do you think he's sort of looked at it from afar and said the way, like, the likes of, just say, Dane Massey was treated? Do you think he looked at that and says there was no way he's going? Because the talk was that he'd sort of agreed terms with the club. Like, I know it's all hearsay and whatever, but do you think he sort of looked at that and sort of said, no, I'm not going to go there?
I'll put it this way, Stephen. If you were offered the terms of Richie Towell, if you were offered the terms by Rovers that Richie Towell was offered, I think even if Dundalk was a contract offer on the table, I think you would have taken it too, because I think the figures are, he'd be well looked after, well remunerated.
Nearly as half as he was getting, is it?
Well, listen, listen. In terms of Towell, quite possibly he might have looked at the way it was going on for himself. Maybe just suited to come home and be around Dublin more. I don't know. Like, the former teammates of his are now in Tala. Ronan Finn. Well, he didn't play with Ronan Finn, but Sean Gannon, for example. I don't know. Rovers probably looked like a more sustainable, attractive proposition from the outside. Whether that would impact on Towell at this stage of his career, I don't know. To be honest with you, I wouldn't have been. I don't think that it's that significant a player that for Dundalk not to have got. Like, Towell hasn't, necessarily pulled up any trees in England. He had a poor season with Salford. He got sent off. He kicked out at somebody there recently. I got a text message through from somebody saying he'll fit right in Tala when I seen that. So is Richie Towell the player that's necessarily needed in there? Like, what type of player is he? He's more of that forward-thinking player. I don't think he'd fit into a 4-4-2. Is he better than Patrick McElhenney?
No chance.
No, definitely no. Like, I think you're right. Like, in terms of a sort of a creative footballer, definitely not. Like, he benefited hugely in 2015 from the selflessness of McMillan. To be honest with you, I don't think. Like, I put it this way: if Daryl Horgan was going to Rovers and you missed out on him, like, I think it'd be a lot slower than missing out on Richie Towell. Like, Daryl Horgan has gone away and become an Irish international. Like, he's played Championship football. I know Towell has done. He's played Championship football in England. He's played Scottish Premiership. Like, he's definitely had a more, we'll say, a higher sort of a profile of career since he's gone over. So Towell didn't really kick on. I don't know what type of players coming back. Is the hunger necessarily going to be there? Because that's something that stood out with Towell when he came back the last time. You seen him the way his gym work. Absolutely. Like, is that necessarily there at this stage? He's probably just coming home for see out his career, and I think Dundalk have enough of those type of players at the minute.
Yeah, hopefully he is. Hopefully, all right.
Yeah, Caoimhin, I think, for all the seasons we were in Reilly Park and covering the matches, I don't think we've ever seen a time where Dundalk Football Club was, the feature of so many stories, and it's all off the field stuff. Like, have you ever seen a time like this?
I think there was film crew down at the train station today that had taken a trip, 200 yards up the road.
No one would believe the
story. Listen, when you reflect back in those days, Chris, like when the previous ownership, like Stephen Kenny was the top man in that club. Mm-hmm. All the decisions, football related, arguably, a lot of them off the pitch were. Yeah. He was the one calling the shots. It was very clear who was managing the club on a day-to-day basis in Martin Connolly. The owners were very much behind the scenes. It was a case of they're seen and not heard. So, like, from that, the club was run soundly. There wasn't the murmurings that were coming out. It was a happy dressing room. It was fully functional, and that's quite obvious when you see the results in that. Now, again, when you lose that accountability, you look at Peak Six coming in. Like, I reflect back, lads, on like Mike Tracy came in as club chairman, and like when Dundalk were winning league titles and that, obviously they won 3 league titles under the previous ownership group. Mm-hmm. Like Paul Brown and Andy Connolly weren't down lifting the trophy on the pitch, Martin Connolly, like, obviously they would have got their pictures and all taken, but like I felt the night that the trophy was presented in 2018, like Mike Tracy down with the mic and lifting the cup, and it seemed to be trying to apply an American attitude where the owners are a lot more front and center than possibly is necessary, and that unfortunately I think has filtered down and filtered through, and people that haven't just simply, I don't think people don't know their boundaries. That seems to be the way it is. Like, there's no doubt Bill Holzheiser as chairman has interfered in team selection, recommended things. Players have been taken in, at short notice in terms of the management, knowing that they were coming. And then you look at the number of CEOs that the club has gone through, like Mal Brannigan in first, and Mal was a nice guy. Like, yeah. I always got on well with Mal. Mark Devlin, like he suddenly was here and he was gone. Like he had very little of a profile, so you didn't know necessarily what it was he was coming in and doing. Like, there has been that many people coming and going. That type of upheaval surely can't. It doesn't lend itself to sort of stability. So
you kind of had the Andy Burton kind of in and
exactly,
out of too,
and undermining the manager and having rows with players, and like that didn't happen because everybody knew their place in the previous regime. It just seems to be a free for all there at the moment, and like with the more people that have been recruited off the pitch, I think that the lines have become even more blurred. Like, people, it's just a jack of all trades. Like, if Jim Magilton is doing the job he was brought in to do, like, it's a full-time role in itself, and yet he's having to pick the team, and he has been for the last, 6-8 weeks. So, what other parts of the club is suffering because, the mundane tasks that are associated with his job description are being neglected because he has to look after the team. I don't know whether I'm necessarily going around in circles. Like, Chris, the basic point is now that, like, there's no structure. Like for a long period last year, there wasn't even a board member based in Ireland. Like, what is this football manager we're playing?
Yeah. and that's led to, I suppose, the fan protests now and fan discontent, and I suppose fans are now trying to reorganize themselves into some sort of a supporters club. I mean, it's a sad state of affairs that we've come to this, that there has to be protests outside, that supporters feel that that's their only way that they're going to be heard by this board and by the club. it shows a massive disconnect, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And like you think back to the days of Trevor Anderson at Dundalk, like I was looking through the old papers, and there was a Dublin supporters club and a supporters club based locally. They were running buses, and like that's when the club was in the first division, and it was really sort of week by week sort of trying to get by. And then you think of the incredible success. There was no necessarily official supporters club, and the removal of the awards night and things like that, arguably was sort of a step away. There was more of a barrier, but all the same, the incredible success and the fact that it was such a settled team, and that a lot of the players were, I suppose, settled in the local community and living locally and were tangible. Like Dundalk would send them out to present awards, and like even things like Pat Hoban turning up at birthday parties. Like these players were here for a long time. They were sort of, as I said, that word tangible. They felt like they would mingle with supporters, like in the bar after games, and like when COVID hasn't helped in terms of that link remaining, but certainly like I know it stung a lot of people, Sean Gannon leaving and not thanking the supporters, but like the way Sean Gannon was treated, I'd say it was probably the furthest thing from his mind, and I don't necessarily blame him for that. Like he was poorly treated from behind the scenes, and some could say, right, he could have said, bye and thanks to the fans, but like, why should he? In another way of looking at it, but in terms of that link, there's so many new players that have been taken in, and like you think back to the fabric of the players in the great teams that we've had in the last 6 or 7 years. Them guys come in with nothing. They had points to prove. There was that work ethic, the whole unity. They responded to the supporters. That type of adulation was something they weren't used to, and obviously they fed off it and all the rest of it. Now you have players coming in, some of them internationals, that like supporters are probably treated as customers. Like Wilfred Zahibo coming in from America. I'm not isolating him specifically, but like it's not really a sport in America. It's a business. Teams are franchise. Supporters are consumers, as more so than fans. Like other players that have come in again, like they're just coming in to pick up the money. Essentially, obviously they're into play, and maybe some of them are here for the right reasons. But like they have no great love for Dundalk or the players, or all Dundalk is giving them is money. Like they have changed Dundalk Football Club and what a lot of the players like Chris Shields and we'll say the Sean Gannons and that, like it's made their careers. Yeah, like it's given them an identity ultimately. When you look at the success, it's given them friends for life. It's they've made their mark sort of in life. I might be getting all philosophical here, but like they're thankful that they have that link to supporters that the current players don't have. And even if supporters were in the ground, like, could you imagine like the performances they're putting in, the reaction of supporters as it stands? And particularly, like we mentioned there, no board member based in Dundalk, no accountability. Jim Magilton seems to be immune from answering questions. He just, I think there's a feeling that there's sort of this supporters aren't being respected, and certainly my idea was if Bill Hulsizer wants to continue as chairman and wants to try and repair links, I'd be adamant that he should be centrally involved in the formation of a supporters group. Otherwise, it's just fragmented bodies popping up, not necessarily representing anybody. I think he has to show the willingness.
Yeah.
I think the respect. Sorry, Chris.
No, go on.
The sort of respect you talked about, like Sean Gannon played the majority of his career with us, and the lack of respect, I suppose he was shown that I'd be in agreement with you. I don't think he should have. Well, not that he shouldn't have, but I don't think we can have any issues with him not coming out and saying sorry to the fans. I know there was a certain video going around of him talking to the Rovers fan, like a Rovers fan page or something. But look, I think that was just in jest more than anything else. Like I don't think I don't think if you talk to him yourself, you'd know the love he had for the club and what it was at the time. But like he's given his career to the large chunk of his career to Dundalk. Everyone at the club loved him, and just the way he was treated at the end was poor. Like it was bad reflection on the club, and you were nearly embarrassed by it, like yourself. Like
I don't think there would have been any doubt that Sean Gannon would have resigned had he been offered. Like Rovers in other years had offered him more money to go, and he stayed with Dundalk. Had he been given any sort of an inclination that he was wanted, like Filippo clearly didn't fancy him last year. And he was playing players inferior to him in that type of position at times. I remember one year Stephen Kenny saying, I was speaking to him one Sunday night, and he was saying like Rovers threw the kitchen sink at Sean Gannon. So like they were trying to tap him up for years, like and he stuck through it. And obviously it was probably in his interest when you see the success and Dundalk had a better team. But again, like other players too, like John Mountney and players like that, I'd say if they had been offered terms, well, suitable is a very vague word, suitable terms, but been shown that they were wanted and there was a desire for them to stay. Like I don't think that any reason to leave.
Yeah. Caoimhin, I suppose just as the final one for yourself, where does this season go for Dundalk? Where do they finish? You kind of touched on it earlier on about Europe. There seems to be maybe a 2 or 3 tier table forming, and we've got maybe 3-4 teams up there in 20 plus points that maybe are having their own little battle. Then there's between, I suppose, Finn Harps, Dundalk, Bows and Derry seem to have their own little battle. Is that really where we'll probably be? And like you say, it's probably down to a cup if we can get anything from Europe.
You see, like there is only 3 European places ultimately via the league, and obviously because for so long the league winners have been winning the cup, then that is freed up 4th place. I can see, there being a different winner of the cup this year, and suddenly that means that there's only sort of 3 teams to qualify. So 4th place is probably attainable. I think that top 3, even though Dundalk beat Pats tonight, and I would question how good Pats are, I think they're maybe just a bit ahead. Like you Drogheda were the wings clipped tonight. Bows, Finn Harps. I don't think there's any question that if you were to go on paper and look at the squads, Finn Harps, Drogheda, Derry, Bows, I'll have a better team than them if they can get a run and like they can get themselves into the top half. But I think that'd be a bit the height of maybe where the league progress could go. But I think it's the fact that Finn Harps and Drogheda are ahead of Dundalk. Well, they were. I haven't seen the table yet, but like that's a reflection on well-run teams, committed teams, unity and togetherness. And like we don't know what guys Dundalk are going to take come July, come August. Like I think there is substance to the rumours. Certainly that Chris Shields might possibly be leaving the club. Hope maybe tonight changes that significantly. Like Darragh Leahy, I don't know what's going on there. For him not to be playing is a sort of a sin in itself. But like if he leaves the club, he's going to strengthen someone else, likely a direct rival. So it's a long way of answering the question. Mid-table finish. I don't think they'll be relegated because how weak Longford and Waterford are. Mid-table finish, I can't see that team sort of winning the cup. Like we don't, as I say, we don't even know what it's going to look like in fortnight's time. Yeah. Like Jimmy Shelton was talking about selling clear out, last Monday night. So like Stefan could be getting the call to go back.
Jesus.
Don't rule it out.
And then you're looking at a top 2 finish.
Next year, first division.
Hey.
Oh no. Well, listen, you could do worse than Stefan. You could have me.
Jesus. Two of us could be there next
The
week.
backhand the compliment there, so.
Yeah.
Listen, I don't want to be down and dour about it. Like I'd love to see them going on a run, and in isolation. I think it was mentioned earlier on with Alan that beating Rovers and Pats in consecutive weeks, you're like business here, but like there's nothing to suggest that there's going to be a consistent run put together. And the simple fact is, we don't know who's going to be at the club in 2 weeks' time. That seems to be the way it is. There could be another, packet full of Americans could land at some stage. Just nobody knows.
We'll ask you in 2 weeks. We'll ask you in 2 weeks.
Caoimhin, before you go, we had a message in there from Eamon Collins wants to know, can you ask the Loud GA if we can play up their new stadium whenever that's supposed to be?
I'm not involved in any of that at all. Listen, I'd let them in. It's nothing to do with me. I think people seem to have some sort of a thought process that I'm stopping this. I'm only, basically saying, maybe Big Six will build a new stadium at that stage, don't you?
Not a chance.
Two chances.
Or else made the club to Dublin.
Yeah, there's probably more of a chance of that, Jimmy.
Or Thomond.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for your time tonight. We really appreciate you coming
Cheers,
on. The season's along, and we'd love you to pop back on another time again if that suits you.
Yeah, you have to run that by the lawyers and say there'll be a few people probably contact me with some of the things that were said, but
they may get in the
that's why we do the podcast, Caoimhin.
Yeah. Anyhow, it could be worse. Could be Jerry Malone.
Oh yeah.
Anyway,
Live it over you.
if we talk to you, man. Thanks for that.
Perfect.
Thanks, Caoimhin. Cheers.
Bye.
See you, bye. Yeah, look, I think it's good getting the opinion of the two lads there, and it's funny when they kind of form opinions similar to ourselves over the past few weeks. It kind of justifies maybe where we're coming from with the inconsistencies of team selections, with not replacing quality players with maybe and some of these lads could be quality down the line that we brought in, but it's hard to see right now when people are in and out and injuries and everything else, so it doesn't pile up. For an easy one, we'll do one last shout out for the man of the match competition, but it's a steamroll. I'm not even.
Michael, any minutes well back?
Yeah, I think you got one. I haven't even counted your one yet, but I can put it. Will I put you down now for two?
Hang on, I have to comment in. Give me a second.
Just so we have it. But look, I think one thing this week was we've seen a survey sent out by a club looking for feedback from supporters, and a lot of it seemed to be aimed around relationship with the club and involvement in the community. I mean, what did you guys think of the survey?
Cop out. It's not pointless. I won't say it's pointless, but it's like it's not been pointed out to them. It's like they haven't. I remember Bill's interview with James Rogers. It's like, and we said maybe he's been kept from all this stuff. Like the boys up in Oriel have been kept from all this stuff. They know. So I don't know if they're just saying, look, we'll engage with the fans and we'll get it in writing that they're not happy. I don't know what it is, but look, there'll be a logic to it just in a general sense. But for me, I think it's like they won't be told. Like anything that they read can't be a shock to them. Especially when they open it up. When you open up the floor to whatever thought you wanted, like they're going to be reading for a while. They're going to be going through it for a long time. It's
especially when they read mine.
Yeah, it's just.
I was about 3 hours filling out my form, but I suppose look, it all depends who's going to be going through this.
Yeah.
Who's going to be looking at it? Like if it's going to be Stephen Todd and Jane McDermott, then they can present valid and positive points towards the positive changes that can be made. If it's going to be somebody else that's going to just do it, like Gally said, just to sort of keep the fans happy, as if they're like, look, it looks like they're going to have a say in things. I don't know, and I think if they're going to put that out, they have to make action on it, or at least bring the points to the club to say this is what the fans are looking for. Do you know, if there's things they can do in it, if there's positive things that make the club better, then great. But look, if it's only a talking shop sort of thing, then it's pointless. But I hope hopefully it's positive and somebody can do things about it.
Yeah. Pingu, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah, just wondering what your thoughts on with the survey sent out this week.
I mean, I just seen someone commenting there that it's happened. I think Eamon Collins said it's been done 1,000 times before. Look, I think obviously Jane was on a few weeks back, and myself and Steph are working pretty close with Stephen with the head in the game stuff, and I think they're two good people involved as SLOs, and I think they're people that have the supporters' best interest at heart. Yeah. Honest answer, I don't think the survey is going to make too much of a difference. Just with everything going on, I wish I was wrong with that, but it's just look, as Eamon says, we've seen it time and time again, and there's very little actually comes out about it, or comes through. There might be something, but it's. Yeah.
Is it telling, like when the club though comes out previously and says and questioned, or is there a disconnect with the community, as if, you know, we had made this up as fans and the media, and then to come out with this survey, is it kind of justification then for a lot of it? Yeah,
well, I think, look, it's when you say the club, you're using that very broadly there. I think it's two people really that have come out and said it. It's Jim and Bill that have said that have been taken aback by the fact that there's a lack of community. But we were talking yesterday, Chris, me and you on the phone, and it's little things like, we can't do it obviously right now with COVID, but when was the last time that there was a halftime game when we had fans back in the ground with underage teams? You know, it's things like that I think the club has moved away from in the last few years, and that's, from my point of view, that's the kind of stuff that I would love to see, because they're the next gen. And when I was involved in the club, Chris, and when you were there, they were always seen as the next generation of Dundalk fans. So we give them that opportunity to play on Oriel Park. So for me, it's more of those kind of things, more of the quiz nights, different things like that there. And this is where, look, without going over the same ground that we go over nearly every week on the pod, this is where supporters groups are needed, you know, and that's what the trust, and like, to be fair to the trust, that's what they were great at in the era when the likes of Steph was playing and things like that. There was quizzes once a month. There was actually a quiz league, if I'm not mistaken, back then, where they do it once a month in different pubs. We were talking yesterday about Shop Dundalk, that, you know, every time that there was someone sponsored the club, a player would have went down with Fintan Nelson and got a photograph taken. Even in a COVID era, I don't think that's too hard to do. You know, it's like the club is partnered with XXI Ice and Cafe Rock Salt, but all the advertising of that has happened within Oriel Park, within the confines of Oriel Park. Like, why couldn't you have the new players like a BB or Han or any of these lads? Why couldn't you have them go out to these places and get a photograph with the owners there in their Dundalk gear?
But he dropped the coffee, so there's no point.
He wouldn't have tonight, Gally.
No.
But you know what I mean. It's like these kind of things are what's completely gone from the club over the last few years, and that to me is what's very, very disappointing.
Yeah. And I think if you look at even, I mean, what we do on the show here, like bringing in some legends and former players, like the reaction from everybody is always top class with it. Like that's you know, and I know Paddy was on Monday saying that, you know, that's what they're looking to do, but that should have been done a long time ago.
Absolutely.
These guys are held in such high esteem, and for them to be just on a YouTube clip to look back on, like Alan was saying tonight, that he was looking back on the 91 game, you know, on that league winning game in Cork, you know, for him to be sitting in, say, the end of McGill with, you know, a couple of people at 6:30, you would get, you know, loads of people would turn up a lot earlier to go and sit and listen to him, listen to Tom McNulty, listen to Martin Lawler talk about these games. Because there's one thing to sit and watch on YouTube clips, but it's another one, someone reliving the moments that they were on that pitch when that happened. Yeah. And I see Premiership clubs do that in England all the time. You know, I've been over to Villa Park plenty of times where there was legends in talking, and I go there purposely just to listen to it.
I'd go up to Oriel early if Steph McKevitt would do a half-hour chat before a match.
Yeah, look, even like what you are saying there, the little stories that like even Alan was able to tell about the Swedish jersey and you know that background of getting the hop, like all that sort of stuff fascinates me. And like you're listening, you're like living on every word he's saying, and I don't know, like you do hold these guys up in the highest regard. They've played with the club, they've won with the club, and most of them come back. Even I heard John Gill mention on LMFM, and he's a Dundalk fan. Like even after everything that happened, like he's out of all the clubs in the league, like he's still a Dundalk fan. Rossi said it a couple of weeks ago. Like something about Dundalk just gets a grip of you, and there's no getting away from it. You have a certain grow. I've heard that word a few times this week, like for the club. So, like if you could involve the fans in a meet and greet before the game at halftime or wherever it may be, I think that'd be massive, and there'd be so much interest in that. Probably wouldn't get a ticket for it.
But that's more to the point though as well, then, because then you'd make sure you were there earlier next time, or you got your ticket. You know.
Yeah, exactly. What are you going to say, Dean?
I was just going to say there, like if you even remember the Barry Keogh summer soccer schools, I think it was every Friday or every Thursday, because there'd be a match on a Friday, but every Thursday the whole team would have been there to sign autographs for the kids, you know. And these are just little things. Like I know it was brought up on another podcast that the club hasn't done enough in schools, and they were kind of corrected on that, but I would still suggest that the club hasn't done it, you know, particularly in the last couple of years. And again, I know the last 12 months has been difficult. Well, it's been, you haven't been able to do it with COVID, but even before that, just some of the stuff that the club used to do very, very well, maybe when we weren't having that level of success, just it wasn't there as much. And I just think the success that I think I said a few weeks back, I feel like the success we had is papered over some of those cracks.
Yeah, definitely. Even like when you're in the marshes or something like that, and one or two of the players, like you bump into them, I had the kids with me, and you're overtaking pictures, and like that just gives you like, and then I let the kids get in the picture as well after that. But no, it just gives you like even the current players like held up as like sort of, you know, these are famous people around town, and rightly so. They're playing for a massive club. But I definitely think there's something there that they can be doing more after the times that's in it. Like, you know, give everyone a lift, and you know that'll lift the players as well. Even as like a squad player in that first division team, you were going up to town, you were getting recognised, and people were saying hello to you, and like, you know, signing autographs back then, not pictures. Like, so now like the players are everywhere, and I think it's massive. So if something could be done now,
I agree. I agree.
Photographs now, Steph, because you're on the podcast. Yeah. I
had a couple of fans come up to me during the week. Sharon wasn't too happy with it, but she's standing here beside me. Though
we'll find out off air who came up to you.
I can't disclose any details.
That's it. Shit, that's the shovel for you.
Yeah. No, but look, everyone's talking about Dundalk at the minute. Everyone wants to know what's happening. Look, hopefully we can start talking about more positive stories.
Yeah. Look, positive result tonight. Positive result last Friday. We're going into a break. I think we just really need to see the managerial situation sorted now. Actually, just, you know, Eamon Collins had put in there earlier on, lads. Will Patching with another 2 goals tonight. Two free kicks too as well, I believe. So, you know, we can't score from a direct free kick. Have we got one of our best midfielders playing for another team this season, lads?
I think he's the most on form anyway. he could be even one of the most informed players in the league. Obviously, I've seen how many stats has he got, or how many assists has he got, and it's like he's 10, has he? Someone say 10.
Probably
10 assists and he 3 or 4 goals as well, and obviously he got 2 tonight. I don't know, I might be pulling these figures out of the air, but I think I seen somewhere he had a goal and 8 assists, something like that, a couple of weeks ago, and he just seems like every time Derry goal he seems to be involved in it.
Yeah.
So look, I think Magilton actually said it'd be something that he is able to come back in July, and I think it should absolutely be done. Another option, and then obviously you're taking away assists and goals from Derry.
Yeah.
There you go, 4 goals, 9 assists.
4 goals and 9 assists. So, like, yeah, we'd be calling out for that in the middle of our park.
The thing
look at the games where we
just edit that, Chris.
When you look at the games that we just lost out on by a goal,
yeah,
those 4 goals would help, or those 9 assists would help us.
Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely. Change wins or draws the wins and losses the draws. Apart from goals.
Just on patching, like if you'd have to nearly ask him, does he want to come back? You know, like that's like obviously he's a Dundalk player. He's on loan. Dundalk can call him back as soon as they like. I don't know the ins and outs of a loan move. I don't think he can say no. But you'd have to gate someone. So like, where do you put him? Like Sean Murray, you've got Fats in that role. Murray, you know, Jim's talking during the week about a clear out. You can't just clear people out of a club. You can't cut their contracts. You have to pay them. Somebody's got to take them. But yeah, like I mean, it would make sense to go and sign in a new player when you've got patching on the wage bill already.
Yeah.
If I was him, I wouldn't come back. I'd stay where I am for some form and then try and get him re-signed. But the danger is if you don't take him back now, he's out of contract at the end of the year. Now, obviously, Dundalk will probably get first refusal on him, but he can say no. So it's one of them. Look at whatever benefits the club at this stage, but obviously you don't want him coming back. You'd have to seriously ask him, look, do you actually want to come back and play here for 6 months, or do you want to stay at Derry? Because you don't want an unhappy player playing. But yeah, I mean, because I remember when he signed him, Vinnie Perth was raving about him, the scout report he had in Notts County, and this boy he was very unlucky apparently at Man City at the youths. But look, we didn't see enough of him, and I think he's flying now because Will Hodge, who came over from Man City, has gone back because of the injury. So I think he's getting his run now at Derry, and that's probably just all he needed.
Yeah. But
yeah, look at it. If it's going to benefit the club and he wants to play it, it's a no-brainer.
Yeah. On a unrelated sad note, the end of Watch LOI tonight. When we look back on it for the 2 half seasons that we had it, I mean, I think probably Pingu for yourself as someone overseas looking at the league, it's probably very beneficial. But I think there's need for streaming probably constantly. What do you think, Pingu?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Look at Watch LOI was far from perfect, but for someone who was watching it on the track champ things prior to this, you know, it was a godsend.
What's wrong with track champ? Hang on, I'm joking.
But no, you know, look, it's obviously for any supporters that can't get to a game, and I think we're living in a digital age, and hopefully now there will be a new, like by all accounts, the clubs are going to be allowed stream for their own accord. So I think absolutely the club should be. I would gladly pay €5-10 to watch every match, like per game for the rest of the season, or buy a online season ticket that I can watch every home game.
Yeah.
So
I think we moved
that's a Cavan man saying that.
Now.
What's that?
We moved to LOI TV now.
Okay, but the club stream it themselves, isn't it?
Yeah.
But yeah, no, look, I think I speak for all supporters abroad. Maybe not at the minute when we're not winning that many games, but I got to see a cup final that I hadn't seen any of the cup finals that we won. You know, I got to see some big games, thankfully, this year. Well, maybe some games I wasn't too thankful for, but you know, no. But look, overall, I think it was for people that can't get to the ground. I think it's a great service, and hopefully now, because we've been crying out for it for years now at this stage, that hopefully now the clubs will be allowed post-COVID to also continue that streaming service when fans are allowed back in the ground. Because I think when you look at how Dundalk are building a brand and how they want the league to build a brand, you have to be able to showcase it to people abroad.
Yeah, and I think it's important even post-COVID, because there'll be a lot of people who won't want to return. There'll be a lot of people who won't go back to games. You know, they're just uneasy with COVID and stuff. So to have it just as an option in general is going to be massive. I think there's massive potential there. I think it's advertised. Like, I've seen a lot more football. I know with the podcast, obviously, you're watching a lot more, but with the package, I've seen a lot more games I wouldn't normally have seen. But yeah, if they can keep it going in clubs, people like yourself, Chris, I hear you do camera work. But I think it's vital, because there'll be a lot of people that will not return to games anytime in the future, because just of the worry of COVID and what it's done to people over the last.
Well, I think we're going to have limited capacities for some time as well.
Yeah.
You know, it's going to be a long time before we get back to any sort of full capacity. I'm just saying, these are the comments coming in.
Do you do the Bulls game by any chance?
Oh, yeah, I did.
You're involved in that, all right. I suppose looking back, which is a bit ironic because Watch LOI couldn't do that. Look, it saved the purpose at the time, and I think it had its faults, but I think we were all glad of it, because we couldn't, unless you're up on the wall in Oriel the last couple of weeks, like the young lads. I probably would have needed a wee boost up there. But look, it served a good purpose at the time. It had its faults. Definitely, we were frustrated at the Finn Harps game. Or maybe we weren't. That they flicked off for about 20 minutes on us. But apart from, like, it didn't have replays, and sometimes it didn't show the score and the time. But look, apart from that, we got to see the game most of the time. So
yeah, look, and from early discussions that we've had with the club and stuff like that, and Paddy did announce it on Monday that they are going to be doing a streaming service, and like, we will do the replays and everything that was there for the Bulls match. It will be multiple cameras again with commentator and co-com, so we'll try to get as good as we can.
Where do you want me and Steph for the commentating? Just go up a bit half five, will we?
Just make your own way up there, pal.
Look, I'll do the legend speaking, and then come in for the commentary whenever you want. Flannel's out of a job soon.
Sure, you'd be delighted now that he's just commenting into it.
Oh, look. The schooligans. I'm going to put a bit of manners on them, boys.
Exactly. Look, I suppose coming into this break now, how do we assess we sum this up fairly quick, because we won't go on into depth, because I think we've covered enough tonight and over the past few episodes. But look, we're coming to a break in this, so it's a time to assess where we are as a club, what we need to do better. For me, I think the number one priority now is just, let's get this managerial thing sorted one way or the other.
We can't come back.
Daniel Cheese, we won't be involving.
We can't come back from a break without a manager. Like, it's just not. It's just not feasible. It just. If we manager when we come back, Jim Magilton needs to go as well. It's ridiculous. Like, how many CVs you need to see? Like, pick someone. Like, it's borderline. It's pure ignorance. Like, if he said he's inundated with CVs, right? Like, let's have a look at them. Like, I don't understand that. I really don't. Like, we should be looking for the top managers, but top managers might not apply. So you're going to have to just not settle, but like, what are we doing? We're 7. Are we touching on 7 weeks with no manager?
Yeah.
Like, and technically we didn't have a manager for the last 6 months either. So we haven't had a proper manager since Willie Baird. Like, it just doesn't make sense. I just don't understand. Look, I guess they're looking for threat from someone. Like, and look, there's the perfect comment. Ian Sharp said, if he's going to take the manager, let's announce it. So at least we know, right, this is what we're dealing with. And he knows what he's dealing with.
Staying on?
No. But that's, if he wants it, that's fine. I think we need to go get a manager. We need to go get someone.
Yeah.
Because I think everybody's too close now. I think it's gone too far.
What do you take, Ali? You would your mate coming out today saying he'd be happy to come back in, even though it's not a come and get me. I'm not allowed to say his name. Steph won't let me.
Yeah, look.
If he was him, he'd definitely be going after himself, though.
Yeah,
work that one out.
That would be look. Vinny, look at. It's been my choice. It's been my choice from the start. I was sure. Look, I was sure David Healy was coming in. So like, what do I know? But that's I don't know. I don't know who. Like we said before, I don't envy Jim's job. I don't envy having to wade through CVs and stuff like that. But there has to be somebody on that list that is good enough for this job. There has to be. It's inconceivable that there's not. And I think there is. And maybe they're too strong of an image, and they don't want somebody coming in maybe pulling rank. I don't know. But if we don't have a manager series, there needs to be serious heads wobbled up there. I don't know. I just can't fathom it.
Can I ask everyone a question now?
If you can wrap this up in the next 5 minutes, you can. Yeah.
Well, when you hear Vinny's remarks today, would you honestly take him serious, given what he said when he was let go? Would you still seriously consider him for the manager's job, saying that he wants it now and things weren't that bad at the time? But at the time, I believe he said that, you know, there was that interference, or there was the attempt to interfere in team selections. Would you take someone back knowing who knows what they're walking into?
That's a valid point, Dean.
I'm asking a question, Steph. Will you answer?
Yeah, no, I would. There's no.
You take him back.
If Vinny wanted a job tonight and he wanted it, and he was able to go tomorrow, yeah, because he's proven He's proven at this level. Like, if you go through the managers very quickly, Stephen Kenny, Pat Fenlon, Liam Buckley, who else has won it? And Michael O'Neill in the last 15 years, 12 years, who've won a league title. There's nobody.
Bradley.
But Stephen Bradley, but we're not going to get Stephen Bradley from Shamrock Rovers. There's nobody else. So Kenny's at Ireland, Michael O'Neill's at Stoke, Pat Fallon's at Linfield. Just get him in. Let's go.
But it all unravelled very, very quickly with Vinny, and he'd have to mend some bridges before he came back in, if that was even a possibility.
But that's management. That's the decision for Jim and Vinny. That's that's life. You know, this is coming from someone who's not a fan of managers going back in general. But I do think in this instance that he's a man for the job, provided they haven't got anybody lined up, which I don't think they do. It's pretty obvious they don't.
But do you think he's going to be let manage? Or do you think he just wants the job and he'll just take it?
I don't think he's an idiot either. I think he'd be saying, look, this is the way it's going to go. Like, you know, I don't think he's an idiot.
Why is he not got another job since? It'd be my big question. Like, he was with the biggest club in Ireland, or one of the biggest clubs in Ireland. Was he waiting for the Dundalk job to come back around again, or did he not think the right opportunity came around, or was he not hired for some positions he applied for? That'd be my big question.
Like, he was heavily linked with the
Pats offers, didn't he?
He was heavily linked with the Pats job. I remember before O'Donnell got it, but then, like, why isn't anybody working? Like, you know, like.
But surely he's been at the biggest club in Ireland, and then he doesn't have a job since.
Yeah, he said he's been talking to clubs outside of Ireland too.
How long's he? I don't know. Like, I don't know his personal situation, but I don't know. I wouldn't be in agreement of him coming back after the way it ended up and whatever. But look, everyone has an opinion, and that's why it's so good. Like, even if yours is wrong, Gally.
well, if somebody can give me a more decorated manager,
apart from Jim McGuinness.
Who's available and who openly said they want the job. There's nobody. Yeah. And like John Flanagan's after saying, he would need assurances. Of course, anybody comes into that job with Jim Magilton as a sporting director who's been sitting in the dugout for 7 weeks is going to need assurances. It's going to be a tough gig for anybody.
Yeah.
But they need to really get it sorted, because I think that could be worth an extra 8, 9, 10 points at the end of the season, just having an actual manager in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Can we do a man in the match competition, lads?
Andy Boyle. Game over.
Right. Andy Boyle from Gally. Steph.
Andy Boyle. With a shout for Val, but Andy Boyle.
Andy Boyle.
Right. Clean sweep. It's Andy Boyle across everybody here. So random person. Hang on. Comments.
Send the pizza to Davy Mack, because I bet you feels robbed.
Daniel Shields.
Daniel Shields gave out of my hair last week.
So Denny's definitely got a pizza for that.
Definitely get a pizza now.
You can get an extra topping.
Yeah. As a point of order for tonight, just to wrap up like we normally would, we'll have a quick look at the table. Just going into the break. So we have Sligo obviously still top after the win tonight. So they're on 31 points, followed by Shamrock Rovers, still to play tomorrow, 27. Pats behind then on 25 points. Drogheda in fourth, 22 points. Fifth is Finn Harps, 18 points. That's what I said. I think we're a little league down here on our own from 5th to 8th is nearly its own little league. So you've got Finn Harps on 18 points. 6th place is Bows and 17 points with a +5 goal difference. Then it's us in 7th, 17 points with a -1 goal difference. And then Derry, 17 points as well, -4 goal difference. And then Longford and Waterford cut adrift below. So I think there's starting to be formed something here with everybody in agreement on that. That unless
we're safe
something happens to Pats and Drogheda, there's no way.
But I mean, even when you look at it, there 17 points. Like it's there. Like if they get a run together, I know we'll keep talking about this run, but I think a manager's going to need to come in and get this run going. I don't think the boys up there can get this run going, and that's what. If nothing else, let's get the party going. No manager, no party. Let's get that in the mug.
It's probably the next two games. I think someone said earlier is Waterford and Longford. Like those two games are must win. You know, because they're the games that obviously we bet Waterford, but we only drew at Longford. We have to start beating the teams around us. You know, and when you look at the table, we're probably right. The league's gone, but we're not out of the race for a European spot. It's going to be hard work to get there, but we have to start winning the games against any of those bottom teams with us. You start
8 points off third, though.
8 points off third, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
I think fourth's the spot, is it? I think it's probably realistic.
Yeah, but that's only European spot if one of the top three has won the cup.
Yeah.
Well, when you look at it, we took 4 points off Pats. So if we can beat everyone below Pats, and we play them again once more, I mean, you give yourself a chance, you know.
And if we beat everybody in the league, we'd be top.
Yeah. But
that's the positivity we need, Chris.
But you know what I'm saying. We need to start beating those teams around us.
Yes. 100%. 100%. Right. We are going into the break, guys. We probably will definitely have a special Bingo. This is happening, yes?
Yeah, we're hoping to have the special next Friday for the 2008 squad. Steph has hopefully called in a few favours from a few lads. But we'll announce something early next week for that. And we'll celebrate the promotion winning team of 2008.
Yes, love it.
Right, so we'll have a few.
So we'll have one guest. It'll be Stephen McEvitt.
Stephen and Grimesy.
Giller's mad to come back on. Told me, loves us.
Like from the boatyard.
Yeah, from the shipyard.
Exactly. Right, we're coming very close to the 2-hour mark, lads. Let's wrap this up. Thanks everybody for watching tonight, for commenting in. Loads of comments again, so thanks everyone. And the podcast seems to be growing each week in, so thank you everybody for that. Thanks to our two guests tonight, to Alan O'Neill and to Caoimhin Reilly. Thanks lads for popping in. As usual, we all missed the limo tonight, Pingu, but I'm sure you're in it.
Yeah.
And we leave our last word up to Steph. Steph?
No fats, no party.
I messed that one up tonight now.